Hey guys, what is up? Phoenix here, and I'm back again jumping into Tarkov. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a voiceover. We're going to be looking at how I've been gearing up in 0.12. I'm specifically referring to gearing up, not leveling up. That's basically out the window for me at the moment. The way the servers have been this week, I can't get a match on anything but factory. So I'm going to be talking mostly about factory in this video, which isn't a bad thing. Factory is, and it always has been, one of the smaller maps with, a shorter time period, and scavs spawn relatively frequently on it, which is useful if you're going in as a PMC, but it's also useful if you're going in as a scav, which is what I've been doing quite a bit. And what I recommend everyone does, and it's something I've always recommended people do, is if you're low on gear, even if you're not, jump in as a scav, because worst case, you go in, you extract immediately, and you get some free gear. Best case, you get a bit more gear. Or you die, and it doesn't matter because you haven't lost any of your stuff. So, scav runs always a recommendation that I have for people, basically regardless of whether you get gear or not. It's a win-win situation. You're not going to lose anything in if you do die. But, I digress. Factory, awesome map for kind of gearing up because there's so many scavs, and I've noticed this patch, there are a lot more scavs than there have been in previous patches. The spawn rate seems to have been increased, which is awesome. Not only the spawn rate of scavs seems to have been increased, but the spawn rate of relatively okay weaponry has been as well. I've been finding AKs and AKSs and, Sagas way more frequently than I have in previous patches, which is fantastic. Because it means that there's, at least a reasonable supply of somewhat mediocre, somewhat, lower tier weaponry. But they perform perfectly fine, and in order to kind of continue to build up your supply and your stash, I haven't had a problem. AKs have been absolutely abundant everywhere. I've got more of them in my stash than anything else, which is fantastic for a number of reasons. Mostly, you can run it with relative ease, and if you die, because they're so common, you're not really losing anything, which kind of brings me on to my next point. It's something that seems counterintuitive. In previous patches, I've tended to run pistol loadouts relatively frequently, where I'll just rush in with a pistol, kill a scav, get out. That has and hasn't been working for me this patch. It has on occasion, and I think in one of the clips I'll include, it does. But for the most part, it hasn't been. There's just too many scavs for it to really work out too well. Plus, you've got your actual PMCs. What I would recommend is to use a reasonable loadout. Use an AK. Run in with, an AK, maybe a scav vest, kind of a bare bones lower tier loadout, and play relatively cautiously. Which is something that I am very much guilty of not having done in the past. I've mostly taken the approach of kind of rush it a bit, which Tarkov isn't the best game for, but in the past it's worked out okay. This patch in particular, I've noticed in my experience that taking it slow, listening for footsteps, watching the field, and seeing how things go is a lot more important than has been in previous patches. And if you do that, you will, even if you're not the best shot, right? If you're not the best first-person shooter player or whatever, you'll get reasonably well equipped out of just following other people and watching what happens. And, in that previous clip there, I didn't even, aside from the last guy, I didn't even kill anyone. What wasn't included was I kind of just sat up there for 5-10 minutes listening to all this gunfire and went, okay, seems like they've gone, get a reasonable angle, jump down, got a bunch of gear. So you don't have to be the best, as long as you play cautiously and you arm yourself reasonably well, in the case that you can defend yourself if need be, you can get a lot of gear without having to get into too many engagements, which kind of counters my pistol runs, but, it is worthwhile having something there just in case you do get into an engagement. Overall, though, the patch has been going relatively well, and I think that Battlestate have hit a relatively good sweet spot in terms of the spawn rate of, your lower tier rifles and scavs, and it seems to be promoting more and more people to be able to get out there with lower tier but still reasonable loadouts, and it's fantastic. It's improved the flow of gameplay a lot more, despite the fact that, the whole medical system's now completely screwed out of Raid, but that's an entirely different point. Anyway, like I said, my biggest tips, kind of to summarize, is Use your scav runs to the best of your ability. Factory is amazing for getting geared up. You don't necessarily have to get into engagement to do well or to extract with some reasonable gear, but play cautiously and just run a lower tier loadout. Don't necessarily go for the pistols, which is something that I need to get used to because in the past, like I said, it's something I've done relatively often. Anyway, that's kind of my first impressions in terms of how I've been getting a lot of my gear this patch. Let me know what yours are in the comments below. Spread the love, share the info. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. If you liked, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions, queries, doubtful points, or want to share your experiences and tips to getting geared up, leave them in the comments below. Like I said, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time.